in psychology. You probably heard of it, the Milgram experiment.
I know the name. What did they do?
So the Milgram experiment was testing people's obedience. Um,
Oh, the science, the lab coats and the pain and stuff.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and describe it for
And
your listeners.
it was testing people's ability to just be obedient against their beliefs, against their what they thought was their morality. Um, and he started it because it was a trial of the Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann, um, who, among other beings, was charged with ordering deaths of millions of Jews. Eichmann's defense. So this is why he even conducted this experiments, because Eichmann's defense was he was just following instructions. So he was killing millions of Jews and in charge of killing millions of Jews purely just because that's what he was told. And basically, the end of the experiment was 65% of people that were told to keep shocking people, they uh, gave them the highest voltage of shock.
I think it's interesting that you used the language ability to be obedient.
Mm,
Um, it was interesting. I've never heard it phrased that way before. Because people would normally cast it in a negative light, like our slavery to obedience or something.
mm,
Um, and I don't know, maybe that suggests something about, um, well, I don't know, but we definitely, a lot of what I've heard about this experiment
mm-hmm,
is about cultural authority and how, there's a lot of questions. They didn't keep doing experiments like this because they seemed unethical, right? So we don't have a lot of data concerning what would happen if the conditions were changed, right? But like, what if that person weren't wearing a lab coat, right? So in the experiment, like the person was wearing a lab coat and they were saying, you must press this.
well,
Trust
yeah, that's
me.
kind of
You must.
what happened. So there was three. It was the experimenter, the teacher, and the student. The students were actors, just pretending. It wasn't a real shock. The only real shock in the experiment was to the people being studied, which were they thought they were going to be in a student teacher position, but they were all made teachers to actually administer the shock. And that was the only real shock to give them like some sort of proof, and it was just a 15-volt like little mini like zap.
Mm,
um but yeah, I'll just read it so people can understand real quick.
hmm.
So yeah, out of 100 people, they thought only three people, they had estimated only three people would administer the maximum shock level, but surprisingly 65% of people administered the maximum shock level, while people showed signs of internal struggle like groaning, nervous laughter, trembling, screaming. Most of them just obeyed the experimenter's quest, as he said, please just continue with the experiment, please just continue with the experiment. Milgram asked the participants to rate how painful they believed the shocks actually were, and they rated it as extremely painful. Milgram even found that the participants, in an effort to justify their behavior, actually devalued the students during the experiment, saying the students were just dumb that they kept taking the shock. Milgram was able to successfully show that under certain circumstances, everyday normal people have the capability to cause immense pain and suffering. Milgram was able to explain such high levels of obedience in the following ways conducted by the study. Compliance was increased because the physical presence of an authority figure, the experimenter. Many participants believed that it was safe because it was simply sponsored by Yale University. The selection process, who would be teacher and student, they thought was random, but they were all the teacher. It was assumed that the experimenter was competent and an expert in his field, and the participants told that the shocks would not be dangerous or life threatening. So it just
Yeah,
shows
I mean,
people's like ability, you know,
it does, and
morality.
I well, I think I would have been in the 65%. I mean, statistics say probably. You know what, and, there's no way to know how any of us would behave in any circumstance until we're in it, right? But we definitely we are social beings
Mhm.
who live in hierarchies, and right now, today, to some degree or another, we are choosing who we take as authoritative, right? And I mean, I don't know how much do we ever choose anything
Democracy.
because yeah. Well, it's just our ability. Humans have never been perfectly free reasoners, right? I think you said beliefs are felt convictions. They are
Mhm,
like
mhm.
there to me, there's no dividing between thinking and feeling.